Well, here's that epic view I've been trying to find for everybody. Classic Vancouver Island. For November. Can't see shit. So, there you go. That's about all I got. Snow levels coming down. I guess we'll get some voices heard from up here regardless. Starting to rain. Got my Swarovski hat on top of the camera to keep it somewhat dry. Logging trucks down the bottom valley. And no sign of game whatsoever. It's kind of sad. I don't understand it. The lack of game is absolutely brutal on Vancouver Island. Not in town, but out here where it should be thriving. I've seen one deer track in this area. Right now I am about 2 miles northwest of Franklin Camp. If you want to look that up, Vancouver Island, Franklin Camp. I'm up on the mountain above that intersection, about 2 miles to the northeast, I think. Now there's elk here, for sure. That's why I came here to retrieve some trail cameras. They're going to bring them up north, because the new ones I ordered aren't going to get here in time for a leave. And of course I brought the wrong SD card reader. The only one in the truck doesn't work. Kind of sucks, because it's like receiving a great big barrel of Christmas presents when you're a kid, and the barrel has a key and you forgot the key and you can't open it for about 2 hours till you get home. So I'll be able to see what's on the cameras till I get back. But anyway, so there's elk here, but there's no predator sign. There's one pile of bear shit on the logging road. This is a deactivated logging road up here. I saw one deer track today, first one I've seen in 5 times out here. It's nasty, it's brutal. I don't get it. But anyway, enough of that rant. That is, voices heard. It's pouring, starting to pour. See what happens. And quick note, I don't have any rants this morning, but I do have a quick note. We've made it clear throughout the lifetime of this channel that if you are a member of offended culture, this isn't the right place for you, okay? You're not safe here. If you have it in you to blow a gasket and run, instead of having a rational conversation or common sense with somebody that might have a different view than you, you should probably just leave the channel too, alright? So if you're a member of offended culture, if you can't look at both sides of a topic, keep your noodle in one piece, not blow a gasket, not be emotionally challenged, you should probably leave the channel, because as far as I'm concerned, the people that do fit those categories are an absolute cancer to our society, our communities. You have nothing positive to bring to the table to keep us a strong, independent, friendly, kind, powerful force. You're a cancer, alright? There you go. You know, it's funny, I've never encouraged anyone to subscribe to this channel ever in my life. And some people will say to me, the marketing-minded people say to me, it doesn't matter, dude, you need all the attention you get, good attention, bad attention, it's all good attention, it doesn't matter. Well, it matters to me. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit if I had 50 frickin' subscribers or 500,000. I don't care. What matters to me is that these people get voices heard. If somebody has something that's going to be helpful to the community, share it. Alright? But if we have people here that are going to try to silence people, be offended, silence people, or go purple in the face and run! Oh my god, somebody's disagreeing with me. I gotta get out of here, right? You're a cancer. You should probably go sue the ass off your parents for bringing up such a pussy, okay? That's my stance on that. Now, let's get some of these confident, free assets to our community heard. What's this title? This is titled, An Encounter Question Mark. Long-time listener, don't know how I stumbled across your channel, I'm glad I did. Found it sometime last spring during all the Rona BS. After watching one of your videos, I went all the way back to the first and listened to them all. I enjoy the stories. As everyone here knows, the media treats this subject with ridicule, and it's difficult to find something to watch or hear with truth in the subject. It's always treated like fiction, like a joke. I've read the Missing 411 collection, and I've shared it with my family to pass around as they finish it. Excuse me, I love to read and I love the mysteries, especially this one. I've always believed in Sabe. As a kid, I moved a lot, so I spent more time reading than making friends. Seems like those would come and go, but true knowledge stays with you forever. And knowledge is meant to be shared, so effing share it. It may contain a kernel of truth that saves or changes someone's life one day. If you want to learn electricity, see an electrician. If you want to learn to play music, see a musician. If you want to learn about the woods, talk to the native people and the elders. To hell with science, the media, and the arrogance of our society. Real knowledge of the world you live in is passed down those ways. It's sad that many stories and truths are going to be lost with the way things are going. I share what I can with family and friends. I don't hide my beliefs from anyone. I keep a tight circle of people, and they all know what I know, especially my kids. I have to keep the knowledge moving downstream. I won't be the one to let it die. Thank God for people like you. I'm a country mouse, though I've moved and traveled more than most people could fathom, partly for work. Country mouse. Would you have possibly meant country musician? Though I've moved and traveled more than most people could fathom, partly for work, which has me in a different state every month, but mostly because I never could sit still. I found my place here in central North Carolina about 5 years ago. It's not as detached from society as I would prefer, but I'm centrally located to family, and I couldn't bring myself to detach from them. I miss the Rockies, the Pacific Northwest, and most of all, Alaska. Oh, no doubt, man. I love Alaska. Spent a few years there, purse seining salmon and other odd jobs. That is God's country, in my opinion. It's definitely a big chunk of it. I'll try to keep to the point of this email. Bear with me as I tend to ramble. Due to the fact that I'm out of state and away from home so much, I'd like to maintain a level of anonymity to keep the crazies at bay, so I'll speak in generalities and references. I can call you Eddie. And Eddie, when you call me, you can call me Al. Okay, I gotta wipe this screen from the rain. Open it up again. Uh-oh, I made it too wet. Here we go. Someone had that song playing on their phone here at the airport. Now it's stuck in my head. Sorry. Just hoping if I kick that can down the road, I won't be stuck with that tune in my brain pan for the next week or so. No, dude, I hate that. I moved here about 16 years ago, but didn't set roots until about 5 years back. Met a fella here and an older man who has spent his whole life in this town. He and his wife have lived in their town since Bonnie and Clyde, since before the cars came into the area, before electricity did as well. I'll say this in short, he has some stories that would blow your mind. They damn sure blew mine. They aren't mine to share, so out of respect I won't for now, but maybe one day. He shared with me his encounters, and between his details and his integrity, I believe every word. I used to live near the North Carolina Zoo, but I've since moved a few towns down the road. That gives people a general idea of where these things happen. It's mostly wooded, farmland and pasture, with a smattering of homes around as well. It's not too far from the Uwharrie Forest. The H is silent if that makes it easier. There are quite a few stories from in and around those woods. The Devil's Circle, military training, paranormal and cryptid stuff. One night about 10 or 12 years ago, I was walking in the front yard having a cigarette. It was well after dark, but I don't recall the time. There are no street lights where I was, only the front porch light from the house. Across the street is a pasture. There's a decent bass pond in there if you don't piss off the bull. There's a handful of cows and not much more. Heck, it's not even that big, really. As I was walking, I heard footsteps in the wooded area of the pasture about 100 feet from where I stood, probably 60 to 70 feet into the pasture itself. Now, I'm not the great white hunter, but I'm no slouch in the woods. I'm very aware of the local fauna, even the animals that fish and game of the DNR would not admit to having in the area. That was no cow, a big cat, a deer, or a bear. Initially, they can all sound two-legged / bipedal, but as... Sorry, probably a logging truck down there. Where was I? I'll start that again. Took me right off. Initially, they can all sound two-legged / bipedal, but as they move, you can differentiate if you pay attention. When I moved, it moved. When I stopped, it stopped. The woods were way too dark to see anything at all, but it was obviously mirroring me. I didn't get any feelings of fear or dread, just curiosity. I walked to the road to get closer, and to get a better gauge on the sound, as my footsteps would be silent on the pavement. I really wanted to know what it was, but I couldn't get anything other than a general location. So I stopped after maybe half an hour, and I lost interest and went inside. It was about a month or so until the next incident. Maybe half a mile from the house is a mountain with no real name and no buildings, just a big patch of woods. Granted, this is central North Carolina, so mountain doesn't have the same meaning as it does out west. I know this mountain, been up and down it a few times. I know who owns this mountain to this day and who owned it before them. I say this to say that I know what is on it and what is not. Mostly importantly, what is not. A few months after the walking incident, I was again having a smoke in the front yard at night by the road. It was a habit of mine. Out of nowhere, I heard this short, roaring, or whooping sound coming from that direction. It was resonant and deep, and you could just tell that whatever it wasn't small in stature, and it wasn't mechanical. It probably meant weren't mechanical or electrical. The sounds last for maybe a second or two in duration, and this went on for maybe 10 to 15 minutes at best. That's a long time. 10 to 15 minutes is a long time. I was absolutely floored listening to the noise. I have my suspicions about what it was, but I know it wasn't any animal native to North Carolina, and the zoo is about 20 to 30 miles away. You could pop off some big ordnance that far away, and the sounds wouldn't make it to this location based off the terrain and distance. Plus, the direction of the sound was about 45 degrees off to be anything from there. This was coming from the backside of this mountain, and it was just an epic noise. The depth of it, the lung capacity, or whatever could do that, is just unimaginable and indescribable unless you hear it for yourself. I could feel the vibration of the air on my clothes, almost like standing near a jet launching, but without the bleeding eardrums. It wasn't a loud and engulfing noise, it just had power like I've never experienced. In all my worldly walkabout, the nearest I could say is to go and listen to an African lion as it makes its communication noises. The sound they make can carry up to 20 miles in the right conditions. It's about as close as I can describe it. Even then, that is a pale comparison to what I heard that night. I'll much rather toe up to a lion buck naked than to have a run-in with whatever was on that mountain that night. Sorry to ramble, end this here. I know this isn't as exciting as the rest of the stories. I'm not looking for affirmation or confirmation. I know what I heard. I know what I experienced. I do want to offer something to the crowd before I jet, literally. I've listened to a lot of encounters here that end up running people out of the woods. I can't imagine how they feel, and I couldn't imagine a life without the woods. I don't pretend to know a damn thing about their experience or an experience face-to-face with one of those things. I do know that I get a lot of downtime with my schedule, and I'm willing to help if someone wants to try to get back into the woods. I'm not begging for an experience, and I'm not out for an adventure, but as you say, we need to come together as a community, and this is how it would help in this community. I'm 40, a guy, married with 2 kids, ex-military, more of a meat hunter than a mount hunter. I do have spare time which I can coordinate, but know that when I'm at work, I'm away from my family for weeks at a time. So when I'm at home, I do need to make that time up. Haven't thought through the vetting process, but I'll figure something out, and when and if that bridge comes up, someone has to make the first move though. So I'll stick out a hand and extend an offer. Suppose I'll see if this email gets read. Pay attention to the comment section and see if anything comes up. Thanks for the truth of things and the straight talk. Sorry about macaroni. If push comes to shove, I've got your 6. A lot of people do. Gotcha, buddy. Thanks for that email, man. Appreciate it. And hopefully somebody's going to take you up on that offer, right? This weather sucks. I think we've had enough people describe that sound. Really well. They've described it enough that I don't really have the curiosity of experiencing a sound vibrating my frickin' clothing on my body from a long ways away. You know how that could mess you up? Holy shit. As I'm basically right where something like that could go down at any second. It's not something I want to have happen to me. I'd rather, I don't know, I'd just rather learn about all this shit from the people. The more I could learn from the people, the better. And then at least I have that seed planted in my brain for if or when something like that does go down, right? That's why we're here. I definitely don't need proof of anything. I don't need confirmation of everything. I've seen, excuse me, these beings twice for sure, maybe 3 times. I've heard them, I don't know how many times. You guys have seen them throw shit at me on some of my videos. I'm good. I am good. Now I just need to hear from all of our people in our communities, and that's all I need to hear from. That's it. That's all we need to hear from when it comes to any topic, really, is the people. That is where we need to gain our knowledge from. The second you give it to somebody who's going to control, then you lose the actual truth, you lose true knowledge, and we just lose in the end, right? So we got to stop that. You have to talk openly. We got to accept the fact that some people might have a different view or a different idea of something, and accept that and realize that it's actually harmless, and it's actually food for thought. It gets your brain working, right? So, again, if you're one of those poor souls, mentally handicapped, challenged people who just can't deal with somebody not agreeing with you, which basically makes you a member of offended culture anyway, you got to get out of here, alright? If you can't, if you're not willing to help yourself or help others, you got to leave, okay? Just leave. You're just wasting my time and energy, and time and energy is valuable right now. We really need confident, free-thinking, rational-thinking people here. We need all the functioning, independent functioning brains we can find here at the same time, chucking shit back and forth and learning and figuring shit out and making us safe and confident and more knowledgeable and smarter, right? And more independent. Anyway, I'm gonna get out of here. This just sucks getting rained on. The camera's getting rained on, and screw it. It's just rain, right? I'm gonna go one more. Just kind of sucks because the screen gets covered up instantly, and it's tough for me to read smoothly. I'll get one more done, and then I'll carry on from somewhere else. I better mark that as red. Almost snuck that out without being changed to red. Alright. Utah deer hunt. Utah, man. So much shit goes on in Utah. Steve D. here in northern Utah. A few weeks back, he shared an email from a lady in Millville, Utah. Millville is about 5 miles south of Logan. It is in what is the cache unit for general season mule deer hunt. My son drew that tag as he lives over there. I live about 20 miles west of Logan in what is Box Elder County. I drew Box Elder. So the opening weekend, we hunted my son's tag. That Sunday morning, it was windy, snowing, and not a lot of visibility. So we decided to stay a bit closer to home and road hunt and glass the west-facing slopes. At around 10:30 in the morning, we ended up in Millville, up along the deer fence where she had talked about. We were about a mile north of the pump house. She shared the video of the fence. I think that was a photograph, wasn't it? Green roof, I think, or something, whatever. Anyway, sorry. There's a substation where we were, about 350 yards to the north of us. I used my rangefinder on it. From where we were, it looked as if the substation sat right against the deer fence. So we pulled up to stop. So as we pulled up to stop, I seen a large dark figure move from the station to the right, which would be east towards the mountains. Mind you, it was windy, snowing, and hazy, poor visibility. We sat in his truck glassing. Something kept drawing me back to where I seen this figure. I kept glassing that area when what appeared to be about 20 to 30 feet to the east of the station, in a young growth of quake trees, I see shoulders and a head peering at just under the treetop. It appeared as if the very tops of the trees were pulled aside to allow it to look at us. I told my son to slowly turn and look and glass there. We've hunted enough to gather that we are pretty good at explaining where to look to each other. As he slowly turned to look that way, the branches moved back and it was not visible. As soon as he looked away again, the branches move, and again I see the head and shoulders. Now, it being as far away as it was, and visibility being as it was, the rain's screwing it up. I could not make out features, just size and shape. Those trees appeared to be about 2 to 3 feet taller than the substation. It appeared to be just under the height of the trees. I would estimate to be around 7 to 8 feet tall, and the trees 8 to 9 feet. A couple years ago, they closed the road that follows the fence. This went on for about an hour. Holy shit, that's a long time. I would get drawn back to that spot, and it was there looking. I would tell my son, and he would look, and it would move the trees back. This happened probably 10, 12 times. Now the hunting season is over, and things have settled down. I wanted to share. I wonder why they closed that road. Makes you wonder. I wonder why it would only let me see it. There was no mind speak. Or was there? Swing me back to that spot. Drawing me? I think that probably meant drawing me back to that spot. There was no fear, no terror, no dread, no pressure. After about 2 hours of glassing and seeing no deer, we moved on. But I did feel that I was allowed to witness this for a reason. Not sure what that is yet, just that gut feeling. Anyway, Steve. Yep, no, we all look up. Sorry. Anyway, Steve. No, we all look up to you. Watch your six, head on a swivel, brother in mind, soul in arms, ready to march, shoulder to shoulder into hell if needs be to fix the mess we're in today. D, Northern Utah. Thanks, buddy. I'm right there with you, man. And so are tens of thousands of other people right now with us. When you were explaining that, that was reminding me of when I was actually shoulder to shoulder with Dr. John Bender-Nagel, and we were at the University of Victoria, and he was doing a presentation. And afterwards, there's somebody from the newspaper there, and I've told this on here numerous times about the fellow that was just quiet in the background, listening to everybody talk. And then I said my out loud spiel about not being scared, and people need to speak out loud. And all of a sudden, the guy come up to me and John and quietly said, "Yeah, I've seen one." And he had John's new book that he bought, and he had a clipboard and a pencil, like he was writing down shit he was going to learn. And he wasn't he was looking for attention. He was quiet, mild-mannered, and only wanted to talk to us. And make a long story short of his experience when he ran into this thing in the deep timber, and he's like right there looking at him, and he's peeking up behind the tree. And then his friend came walking up, but before his friend came into view, that being really hid behind the tree. And he's going like this. And he was putting his gun up at it. And he said that when he put his gun up, it still had his whole head looking out at him. And what did he say? Came out and looked at him, put the gun up, and then it kind of went back a little bit when his gun was up, and he's looking out through the scope. He had his crosshairs on his forehead. He said that it's like 30 yards or something, 20 yards, and he said he could see. I said, "Holy shit, you were close." And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "I put the crosshairs from eyeball to eyeball up to his forehead again on the scope." He saw the frickin' whites of its eyes, right? But anyway, getting back to the main point I was going to make, when his buddy came up, then this thing really hid behind the tree. And his buddy saw him, looking freaked out. It's like, "What's going on?" He said, "Look, look, look." And his buddy looked, and he said his buddy really started to freak out. And when he put his gun up on it, the thing really hit, like just peeking half an eyeball out. And when his buddy put his gun down, and he brought his gun up, then the thing put its whole head out and looked at them. And he said, quote, "It was almost like we could control it with both of our guns. In, out, in, out." And that's when I asked him about the demeanor of his friend, not in an insulting way. I said, do you think your buddy's more of a trigger-happy guy? Like, is he more apt to probably pull the trigger, possibly? And he goes, "Oh yeah, for sure." I'm like, all right. So for me, gathering my information, that was letting me know that that being could read the demeanor, possibly the emotional stability, whatever you want to call it, of him and his partner. So, my question would be to you, possibly, would your son what do you think his reaction would be? And this isn't insulting in any way to him. Would he be more apt to get the shit scared right out of him, which makes a human being with a weapon absolutely terrifying to anything, very dangerous? Or do you think your son would have kept his shit together and just looked at his binoculars and went, holy shit? Right? That would be a question that I would have. What's your son's demeanor? Is he more, what I call people paranoid. People, I got a lot of friends of mine that are absolutely paranoid. They're not into bears, they're scared of bears, and you can tell because they always bring up bears when we're hunting. And obviously when I'm guiding people, you have to read people all the time, because nobody really tells you the truth when you're in the mountains. They don't tell you if they're sore, they don't tell you if they're really tired, they don't tell you if they're scared, they don't tell you if you're nervous. You got to read them and figure it out for yourself. But anyway, that's enough of the babble for me. Get a little more of a view. I'm going to give you guys a 360. How's that sound? You can see the snow line coming down. I'll give you a little view over the hill here. Alright, so here we go. It's getting a little more clear. Snow's coming down. You can see that's right at the edge of snow line there. I'm thinking about finding my way up there, maybe, before I go home. That's looking out west. That is looking straight below the logging road. I keep looking over my shoulder down there. I know there's some elk down in there somewhere. Just looking across this little valley. That's looking straight south towards Bamfield, where you guys see the videos from the boat when you're fishing. That Franklin camp is down there, around that corner in that fog. If you're looking it up on the maps, Franklin camp in South Central British Columbia, or Vancouver Island, I guess. But anyway, that's where I am. So I'm going to move on and share some more shortly. Well, about as high as I can go around here on this hill. Looks like I'm somewhat at a snow line. There's a little bit of specks of snow on the logs. But here's where I am. As high as I can get. And I'm up a logging road called Heather Creek, Maine. I'm definitely at the head of land. Logs are off. No sign of game. It's dead quiet, except for that helicopter in the background. Helicopter logging, probably. And usually you come up on a spot like this and you look over that edge. You always see something bouncing around. Anything. Not happening. Anyway, we'll set her up, get some voices heard from up here. In between showers, I guess. It's quiet up here. What a lack of game. It's so brutal. No, it's not from human predation. It's not possible. Even the natural predators, I mean, as soon as the wolves and the cats eat everything off, they'll perish. And the shit comes back, but the deer just haven't been coming back for so many years. It's just depressing. I don't get it. Elk seem to be thriving, but I can take you to lots of places in British Columbia where there's lots of logging. There's still deer. Huh. Oh well. I guess if I look, well, yeah, actually there's an old buck rub right here. By the looks of it, it's probably about 4 years old. So there was one buck here 4 years ago for sure. I guess if I really went at it hard, I'd probably find a few deer around here, but I can tell by the sign there's not much. There's just not much. Now, who's next? I want to go home and check my SD cards. Bad. These are all recent emails, I believe. I'm 61 years young, indigenous on my mother's side, Klamath, Modoc, Lower Oregon, Klamath Lake. On my father's side, Yurok, Karuk, Lower Klamath River. Late spring 74, Klamath River, Highway 96, past Rogers Field, headed downriver, around midnight. After a party at the Pines, a few miles south of Eureka. I'd gotten a ride home from a neighbor who lived at the village not far from a bar called the Swallows on Highway 96, half a mile north of the Klamath River Bridge. The ride dropped me off at the bridge and goes on their way. Visibility factor, you cannot see the hand in front of your face. Highway 96 at times hugs close to the river, and you don't want to slip in. I have around 5 miles to go in this trek home, so after I pass Rogers Field, Highway 96 begins to slope and downgrade when I begin to hear footsteps crunching above me to the right. The river's on the left. I didn't feel scared, nor did I feel fear. For this is home, and it is where my heart belongs on the Klamath, and possibly the marijuana I'd indulged in at the Pines mellowed me out. I knelt down to feel for some rocks, weaponize myself for what it's worth. Keen senses is a prerequisite. Walking the river road in the pitch dark requires as much. The guardian, sent to guide my way in the long trek to the house, for this is how I felt. It was there to make certain nothing would interfere on my journey. My guardian escorted me all the way from Rogers Field, all the while letting me know security is with me. The constant companionship and crunching footsteps in the pitch-black darkness. During the remaining 2 miles downriver to the dirt road on my right, my guardian walked with me all the way and stopped about 20 feet away as I walked up towards the house. End of email. Just like that. And that's definitely, probably, possibly a more healthy way to look at those experiences, right? Because so far, everybody is absolutely terrified when they hear the footsteps paralleling them in the forest and stopping when they stop, maybe taking an extra step more than them when they stop. You know the drill, right? We've heard it lots. Just can't believe there's no deer here. That's different. It's a different way to look at those experiences, isn't it? It's your guardian, making sure you're all right. So far, we haven't heard anybody get harmed from those footsteps either, right? But anyway, I hope you didn't cut your email short, because that's all I got. And if you did, mail us back. If not, we got you. This is titled, It Contacted Me. I still use my name. I can't drop this subject. It's unfinished business for me. I've emailed once. It was short. I left a lot out, and have since found a journal containing details I've forgotten about. This is all in the Pocono Mountains. Been there. I won't reveal the area. Lots of legends here from the old timers. We just used them to scare the girls when we went parking in the woods to get them close. As time went on, odd things started to come together. Early 70s, talking about Patty. My brother-in-law told me he and his cousin were deer hunting in the 60s on this cliff, mid-power line, when a bear stepped out in the clearing and started walking towards them. It stood up and started walking like a man. They put their scopes on it, and it scared them so bad, they ran out of the woods just from the sight. They both haven't spoken to each other for over 20 years. What the hell's up with that part? That part really bugs the shit out of me. It's so common. It's not fair either. I saw his cousin, a fireman, years later and asked him about it. Almost word for word, he told me the same story and expressed the same reality of it and fear. I found little barefoot girl tracks in the snow 200 yards behind a shooting range. I just thought lenient parents letting their kid play in the snow. I blew it off. Bear? But bear cubs are born in the spring, not early winter. Then my sister had a bear pick up the 55-gallon metal garbage can and throw it at the car. My other gunny brother-in-law and his friend killed it and buried it down the power line. I'm told bear can't throw 55-gallon drums. Brother-in-law does not discuss things, period. Then I'm after this nice fat spiker. Did my homework, and a spiker is a young buck for all you guys that don't know. I did my homework. I'm posted and waiting. I see this guy walking into the swamp with what looked like baggy camo pants and no orange. You have to jump from root to root to get back through the thick pines. Then Mountain Laurel, you cannot walk through, and he did, silently. Out comes the spiker and a few doe walking in circles. They usually just bolt. I took the buck. My friend on the other side of the swamp saw no one. Then my son, my wife, and I were watching Matt Moneyfaker chasing away everything on TV and said, let's go up the mountain and crack a tree and see what happens. Bored out of their minds, we did. Miles back on a dirt road I knew of, the kid got out and cracked the tree hard with a baseball bat. Immediately, as if club in hand, a loud crack returns from our right. Had to be less than 50 yards. Then 2 loud hoots. We're all kind of shocked. No cars or houses in the area. Son goes to crack the tree again, and a walnut-sized rock comes flying out of the woods and whacks the wheel up the truck hard. We yelled at the kid to get in the truck and take off. Curious now, I go back up to look around. Found 12-inch footprints, very wide, no claws, big toe, and angled straight. Not rounded like a bear, and really deep. I'd hear these loud, soft, low tones coming from the woods close, just calm whoo sounds. From what looks like a giant grave with a club stuck down in the stones. No nail holes, small end was chiseled to a V, very old hardwood, stones replaced by someone, not from glacial deposit. I found saplings cracked off 8 to 10 feet off the ground. Not enough foliage to collect ice and snap them. Voice records that all went dead at once. One was crushed. I heard nothing on one recording, but both cats freaked out at once hearing it. There was this sneaker on a stump pointed up the road. Someone lost it, I thought. My son said it's a girl's sneaker. That's really popular with black girls. I had the idea to turn the sneaker around facing down the road for some reason, so I did. When I came back another day, it was turned back around facing up the road again. Who would do that? There was always this long-haired guy in a red pickup truck that came down that road. When I looked at him, he'd hit the gas and spin his tires. Kind of creepy. I had horribly strong feces smell driving me out of that area. Bad smell, skunk, decay more than once. I'd leave food, only onions were gone. I thought, what am I doing? Trying to contact/communicate with these things? I would use a certain call in the day and a different one at night, so they knew it was me. Then one day, I pull up to the swamp next to the road in my work van. There's a pickup parked a bit up the road, hunting I guess. All of a sudden he comes running out of the woods and takes off spitting gravel all over. A few minutes later I hear something walking slowly towards me in the thick bush. Slow crunching and those little beeping birds the size of a mouse that make you jump out of your skin when they land on your shoulder. Deer or a bear, I'm thinking, with the birds. Then it starts crying. A woman. Really sobbing like someone who's lost a child. That intense, loud. Thinking that bastard in the truck was hurting a woman, I said, don't cry, I'm here. Then as she took in a breath and started to sob again, her voice got lower and lower. My voice could never get that low without stopping it. Low like a tiger or a big animal. My hair just about stood on end. I stopped crying and slowly walked back in the woods with the Tweety birds. I was numb. Recorder and phone in pocket were non-existent. It would not let me see it. No human could do that, and no animal could do that. I drove out still numb, and I didn't feel fear until I was on paved road again. I never went back. Careful what you wish for. I was not prepared for that. I get this idea in my head that that guy in the red truck hurt/killed a woman, and that was her sneaker, and that crying was them trying to tell me about it. Maybe a stretch of my imagination, but there is a strip club and a truck stop with lizards not too far away. What's a lizard? I've not gone back from health and knowing what to do. It approached me. Your mind goes a million miles trying to make sense of that. I'll not tell anyone where they are, not even if jumper cables were attached. I just wonder what someone else would do. That's the end of the story. That one's a little different flavor. They killed the bear and buried it. You mean they killed a being that was apparently called a bear and buried it? I'm sure there's going to be a shit pile of people curious to know where that burial site is, right? Without any doubt. If that's what you're meaning, I'd have to go back and read it again. Looks like the sun wants to pop out. Which probably means it's starting to fog in now. If the sun's going to crack through a little bit, I'll bet you I'm going to get absolutely fogged in here. I can barely see 100. I can see 100 yards right now, but it's closing in on me. Anyway, thanks for sending that in, man. Appreciate your time, all right? Maybe you can dig up any more information that might help somebody. You know what to do with it. Get it into us, okay? And if I misread that, if what you meant was somebody killed one of these things and buried it, I don't know. Maybe do a little digging. Find out where it is or who did it. And what the details were when they grabbed the body and moved it, put it in the hole. Might be interesting. This is a book. This one. Holy. Alright. We'll save that for another day. Oh, here's another one, the Poconos. Holy cow. Alright. Short one. This is titled My Sightings in the Pocono Mountains. Hello, Steve. I've been watching your channel now for some time. I love all the stories from the good, honest people of the round table. I was watching one of your videos titled A Lifetime of Unexplained Shit and Some Real Brain Bender Questions. There's a gentleman who shared his experience in the Pocono Mountains, specifically in the Lake Ariel area. This is the exact area I had my encounter, so here it goes. My ex-in-laws had a house up in the Lake Ariel area of the Pocono Mountains. The house is located in a community called The Hideout. The entrance to this community was off of RT 590. So, early one morning I decided to go fishing for walleye and bass, but I had to drive into town to get gas for the boat. I left the house, made a right-hand turn onto RT 590. While driving into town, it was just about sunup. I was coming up on a little restaurant, which would have been on the left-hand side of the road, and just past it was a large open field. As I came upon the field, I seen what I thought was a bear hauling ass, heading in my direction towards the road. It was traveling about 50 to 60 miles per hour. And this bear and I would have intersected at about the same time. So I started to slow down because this is the first time I've seen a bear in the wild, and I was intrigued. As this bear reached the road, I then noticed it was no bear. This creature had the face of a man. Let me read that one more time. For all you people that keep missing these parts, which seems to be about 99% of the time, it's mentioned this way. This creature had the face of a man. Got it? And was running on all fours. Once it got to the roadway, it leapt and literally cleared the entire 2-lane highway with zero effort. That's a holy shit moment. I hit my brakes so I could watch this thing run into the forest on the other side of the road. For years I tried to convince myself it must have been a bear I had seen, and I was just tired from it being so early in the morning. A few years later, I hiked into the woods in the same area trying to figure my way to a river I wanted to fish, but I had this god-awful feeling about continuing on in the direction I was heading. It was then I seen a blur of brownish-red flash from tree to tree, then it was gone. The feeling started to go away, so I continued on. Once I got to the river, I started to fish. It was only a few minutes later, someone or something was throwing either small rocks or acorns at me. When I finally noticed, I went to investigate and found nothing. Again, the feeling for me to leave returned. This time, I followed my sixth sense, packed my gear, and left. I know these things aren't as extravagant as other stories, but this much I can tell you is they are absolutely true. Thanks for everything you do for other people. It's greatly appreciated. You can absolutely use my name. My last name's hard to pronounce, so you can just call me Anthony. Anthony Slewinski. Slewinski or Slywinski. It's one of those three, right, buddy? And I got you, man. You're a free man. You're a free, brave man. And I know myself and everybody else here appreciates the time you just took to share your honest experience with us. That 50 to 60 miles per hour thing, man. I've heard a lot of people, I know people who have told me that it's the speed that really scared them. The speed. It's hard to imagine it. You know the old cartoons, the Road Runner, and the Coyote, and you see instead of seeing their feet going, it's like a wheel. Pew! That's what I picture when I hear those experiences. Gotta wonder how many of these beings have sat and listened to me tell these stories over this past couple of years. Some of the places I go, including right here. You gotta wonder, right? I guarantee you it's happened. More than a few times. But anyway. Man, it's quiet up here. Shit. I'm hearing birds though, so that's a good sign. as long as you hear a bird or something, right? Anyway, time for me to go. I gotta get home and check my SD cards. If I got a real cool clip, maybe I'll throw it down at the beginning of this video and share with you what I caught on camera. And then I'm going straight to packing. Now it's the report is going to start to be minus 14, minus 16, minus 18 where I'm going. This should be interesting. This is going to be good hunting. Be back shortly.
See what the hell we're doing. Slide right up. That's not the one we called up, is it?
That'll take a while. And this is how you come down.